Maybe I felt the need to immerse myself, in corrupt situations. I mean, I never quite managed to become corrupt, but I probably should be.
Have you heard the Michael Anthony show?
Well, this is it, isn't it? Nostalgic for a time that didn't exist. Where'd you go with that? Go to anywhere in Albion.
Talk over gin and teacups and leaves on the lawn. Violence and blood stops the pen. That's too high. Test 1, 2. Look at this shit now. What are you fucking claiming to do? Mate? You should go to the gaff hole. No. Some French to it.
Yeah, you big dog. Okay.
Neuter?
Gallagher.
Yeah.
She, she's got arthritis problems, so my wife didn't think it was right for her to risk it. I told us that she might not survive giving birth.
What is the name of this breed?
She's a Mongol mix, and a bit of Rottweiler, a bit of American Bully, Bull Mastiff.
Right, that's St. Bernard, isn't it?
Bit of St. Bernard.
How long have you known Pete?
Oh, I feel like a long time, but probably not that
Does
long
feel like
as
that.
it
I don't
goes.
think it is that long.
Try
Is
hit
it?
the mics. Let's everyone just try being this together. Let's try hit mic.
Okay.
I don't know if it is that long, is it?
I think on
Do
the
we
radar,
know each other?
does anyone really know anyone?
So you were sharing a flat with Drew McConnell.
I was sharing a flat with Drew
Long
McConnell.
time,
Irish
long time
dude.
mate of
He
mine.
is from
played
Tipperary.
bass player in Babyshambles, and you both ended up in Liam's band when Liam
Yeah.
went solo.
Yeah.
Gallagher. So
My
we
mate,
met
you
through
know.
Drew one time, and but only in passing in that way.
Yeah, but
like
I
in
think
a crowded
we've been
we met. Our eyes met across a crowded dressing room.
one of
But
the, yeah.
when I had this group of songs, the reason why we're here, what we're going to talk about,
I thought we were here out of love.
and
I thought we were here out of mutual love.
I did, but I felt you were a bit cold when I first came in. I went for the hug. I went for the hug.
I
And
asked you to know the score of the United game.
you stood up and hugged reluctantly. You stood up and hugged because I wouldn't leave it. I was like, "Are you right?" And I went, "I thought you'd forgive me for my awful behaviour at the George Tavern."
I thought that was the most loving thing I've ever received off anyone.
So did I. So,
The fight.
have you watched any of Michael's podcasts? Did you do
I don't watch anything.
Did you do any
at one
research?
time.
He's
No.
interviewed some really interesting people. One of whom, he did a very interesting interview with Tommy Robinson. I think he can be talked round. There's a band that we fell for in quite a big way. They're a really, really, really cool band. I'm not going to give any details because from then on it'll be easy to work out who they are. But we've had him on support slots, and he's sort of melodic. You can see he's got a glint in his eye, this lead singer, but you can also see that certain like facial tattoos, but there's one you can see it's been wiped off, and it did occur to me that it might be a right wing thing and that he'd had it bleached or whatever. But then I've heard about his past where he was in an openly far right band. Do you know what I mean? And then that came out, so we're struggling now with, because I just want to sort of sit him down, talk to him about it, and move on. But
Would you still be immensely tuned in, like both of you, to politics, or do you just view it now as just a circus with kind of social media just making the whole thing a joke? Like, do you care that Trump's president, or you could just kind of sit
Yeah, I
with the whole thing?
care. I'd rather be in sort of social media stasis for 4 years and not read about, unsolicited opinions about Trump, though. But you can't bury your head, can you? You have to kind of.
I think even if you've got even a passing interest, in international politics or geopolitics. And if you've got that combined with even a passing interest in comedy, you know, say a film like, I think, you know, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or any apocalyptic film that has elements of comedy, to combine it. I mean, Trump combines the two. If you scripted the story of American politics in the last 12 years, you know what I mean? You came up with that, everyone would say it was too far-fetched and too surreal. So it's just this ridiculously entertaining pastiche of the world, except it's not a pastiche, it's what's happening and it's reality. You couldn't script it. It's like, it's just, so you just sit back and like,
do you think as performers, like people who are kind of gathering a crowd essentially via your expression, you understand that he is performing?
Yeah, and yet, you know, even your most underground, coolest, right, most angular singer-songwriter in his bedroom has had a comment somewhere on his social media telling him that he's an artist. But Trump's never had that. For everything he's done in his life, no one's ever said to him, you know, you're an artist, or he's coming at it from a completely different angle. Do you know what I mean? He's if he is a performer, then he's always been one. He's not turning it on now. Whereas like when you see clips of him in the 80s, do you know what I mean? Like he was like their go-to man on the news channels if they had any economic news, or like talking about China's growth, and he'd be the man they'd go to because he was seen as this business like mind, you know what I mean? And they'd always ask him, you can find the clips, they'd always ask him, why don't you run, Trump? And you can just see it in his eyes. You just know that
he's denying that he ever wants to do it, but you can tell.
No, you know that he's gonna. You know it's coming.
Did you ever see him do the League Cup draw on St. and Greavesy?
Yeah, I missed that one.
Is that true?
He does the League Cup draw in 96.
Get out of it!
Yeah,
no, he
Greaves.
doesn't.
96.
Fuck off.
He was always motivated by what, though? He was motivated by the want to be accepted by his capitalistic, full of shit parents, like kind of anyone else is, and everyone pursues that in different ways. And he knew the only way to make Fred Trump smile and that cold-hearted mother was to own skyscrapers and eventually be the main man. So he performed for 40 years in order to achieve that status. And those interviews he's doing in the 80s is kind of a pre-performance, as is his 9/11 arrival, in which he's pretending that he's the savior of New York City. Yeah. What I'm saying is his output is horrible, but I still see that guy with his hair and his whatever bought wife and his overly tall, which seems like created by a science child, as someone who just wants to be accepted and loved. And I think if the world attempts over the next 4 years to soften him up with that kind of comedic approach, and you meet him on the comedy and don't get overly offended and don't call him Hitler, you have a better chance of saving the world than further polarization.
Do you think his age is a factor where it
really
means he can't be saved?
Really interesting point. That the problem is though for too many people, and probably for myself in the past, I'd be guilty of this. He is the enemy. But I don't know. I don't. Maybe he softened us up. Maybe it's us that's been softened up. Get him on your podcast, Michael. I'd like to see that.
Do you remember you said there's fewer more distressing sights than that of an Englishman in a baseball cap? What exactly did it mean at the time? Was it like an Americanization of English culture?
Those years in particular, I think it was more. There seemed to be more football violence around then as well, and that image of the baseball cap right down over the eyes, so the cameras can't get your face, and the scarf up. It was that directly. But I always loathed baseball caps anyway, on a more macro cultural level. I think it was I was on a tube train. And there was it was like an army of Wolverhampton Wanderers fans, and I think I was like, I can kind of imagine the scene now. I was cross-legged. I think I was reading the TLS with flared bootcut jeans, eyeliner, a tight leather jacket, and this army of Wolverhampton Wanderers fans came. And the first one on was a guy with his baseball, and they were looking for Spurs fans or whoever they were playing. I was just like, oh, fuck this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So them situations used to happen quite a lot, but I didn't mind if I was there. I was at a QPR game, and you're coming out the ground, and there's fuckloads of you, and you're on the other side of it. You don't mind them lads being on your side. Do you know what I mean? So, but around that time, 2001, 2002, the trucker cap round here actually, bands like the Beatings and the trucker cap came in. Do you know what I mean? That more
the white thing in the front.
Yeah, but no, it's this flat, squashed, fake Burberry one I was talking about.
Do you think there's a link between musicians not going bald?
Yeah, I got a picture in the attic. You should see the state of that. He's bald and fucked. Yeah. You know, like Bluebeard or Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
You sell your soul and you get to look good, but there's a picture of you that's slowly rotting somewhere. I feel like that sometimes, and that one day it'll come crashing down, and I'll suddenly turn into like the person what I should look like. Why, are you worried about going bald?
Yeah. I was in the shop the other day and cut the CCTV, and I just saw a tiny little bit of white.
Would you never get implants?
No. You have to decay. You have to decay.
I think it was around 2000. I saw a picture of the Pistols as they were then, and the Clash, and the Pistols have all obviously had LA implants and a teeth done, and then then there's Mick Jones, who's like he's got the graveyard teeth and the bald head, but just doesn't give a fuck because he still exists in a childlike state of wonder. Mick Jones, do you know what I mean? He has these moments of being a recluse. Like,
was he the guy who produced the early Libertines records?
He's the Clash guitarist and singer, and he did the Big Audio Dynamite.
How do you choose producers for an album when you've had like 7 or 9 in the career? Is it based on, do you have the idea of the sound first, and then you go, I like this person's work, I'll get them in because they'll understand this?
No, well, in the case of the album we just made, it wouldn't have been made if I hadn't met Mike and we hadn't have got together with the guitars, and it just wouldn't have happened. There's no one else, I don't think, that could have, because it was basically all I had was a dictaphone full of half-baked ideas and 3 or 4 fully formed songs that the Libertines didn't want to use on that album because they were mine rather than co-writes. And it was Mike really that pulled them out, and songs that were missing choruses, middle eights, he finished off. So the co-writes. So it's not just.
So what kind of material would you be getting? Would you be getting like a verse from Pete with an idea of a chorus and like a bridgeless tune, and then you finish it, or how does it work?
We just sort of see what works, and then I went over to Etretar and we sort of just see we just see, with no pressure, to see if we could make something work, And it was going through sort of half ideas and stuff we were coming up with at the time. But I actually found that when we sort of got out and into Normandy a bit, which is where we started doing this, that's when things just started to sort of happen a bit more. Yeah. And it became a sort of more of an orienteering exercise with the music. So
spending time together is important as spending musical time together when you're producing a record.
Yeah, we go out early, walk the dogs, and then like maybe we'd say, but we just, maybe we'd say this would be great with an accordion, and Peter doesn't have a phone, so he's quite good at spotting people who might have an accordion or
know someone. He looks like the sort of bloke who knows someone, and his sister knows someone who plays the accordion.
So he would start with a trumpet. He'd go, this guy might have a trumpet, and then he'd go and ask him, and he'd go, no, you know what, I haven't got a trumpet, but this guy's got a trumpet. And then someone will come over, and then there was a few characters who came in that we had to sort of...
when you used to sit down back in the day and it was all kind of cultural, you had like a cult following in you. It was like a provocative form of writing, and there was violence and there was blood on walls. This more kind of peaceful, beautiful, mature style of writing, does it come like as easily or angrily, or do you sit down with the guitar and then like try to like what's the difference as you as a writer now in the actual process, the bit where you sit down? How does a tune come to Pete Doherty?
For my thing with it, I'd say Pete is a really, really great editor. So if I'm struggling to add to something, or we've got to a point in a song where we're like and I'm trying to add to it, I'll say something, the sentiment with it, and he'll make it 15 times better with a turn of phrase, just like that. And that's a really great way. I think of his skill with lyrics. He's way better than me. He's just great at editing.
Putting things a certain way.
But just giving it a turn of phrase that makes it really melodic as well. It sort of sings good. The amount of syllables are good.
I don't really like to analyse these things too much, Michael. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to give you all my little secrets.
Big thing of it is speed is the essence. I think if you can get it to happen fast, I think it works better.
There were moments like with Baron's Claw, which it's ended up being on our album.
Why is it on both?
That's a different question. But just to the point, I had that started out as this shabby but deeply powerful melody that was just lost in this frazzled acoustic guitar through a crappy little dictaphone. And I knew there was something there. And for ages I've been playing that thing that went, and I just knew, and everyone I played it to was just fucks that. And Mike heard it and went, "You're saying something about a Baron? A Baron's Claw?" And I was like, well, I wasn't, but I was like, yes, that's it. And from that moment on, it just seemed to write itself. But without,
I thought I don't know if we're on the same page of what the lyrics are about, because in my head I thought it was about a sort of 1970s neighborhood bogeyman, right, in like Liverpool or something. Everyone's got one. It's a guy who lives in the street, and all the kids are scared of him. They knock on his door and run away, and this guy's got a hook for a hand. And one day, the guy with the hook for a hand ends up saving somebody's life. In doing so, he dies, basically. And then all the kids are sort of singing that. And that imagery of sort of kids, it reminded me of Top of the Pops and Bell Bottoms. I don't know if that's the same for you, because I didn't ask you at the time. I just assumed.
What were you writing about with the Baron's Claw?
This once wealthy and powerful aristocrat who, for whatever reason, we don't have to know, that's what's mysterious, has fallen into, shall we say, genteel poverty, and but is still called the Baron, even though he's been stripped of all his title and land. And then a war hero, he lost his hand in the war. We don't know which side he was fighting on. It's been replaced by, his hand's been replaced, or at least a couple of fingers replaced by these claws. You know, like the way an armadillo's armor rolls. So you've got 3 or 4 sheets of overlapping metal, and then and I think that's where, when I played it to Carl in the demo form that we had, he took it and ran with that as that, and it changed in lots of ways. But
so that's why you put it on both records.
Well, no, but the version I did with Mike, we recorded the vocals and the guitars the day we wrote it in that room in the house in Normandy, and for me that was such a, I wanted to share that with the world, this idea that it got written and recorded within a couple of hours. And also we kept the instant karma
that
drums,
kind of feel type,
do you know,
thing.
And I like that. The choruses, I love the chorus that we did.
Lennon still be the hand on the shoulder at all times?
A clawed hand on the shoulder. Not at all times. Whenever I reach,
as an aesthetic in this instance is what is, I think, the Lennon thing, but I think that's the great thing about having 60, 70 years of music now, is you can cherry pick that. And I think as well, Peter as an artist, I think that kind of cool glam, early 70s glam thing suits him in as far as I'm concerned. He could easily carry that, you know. So it didn't feel weird doing it, put it that way.
Would you ever be tempted by that overproduced style of music?
I don't know. I'm a bit out of touch really with production methods and what genres what, and I'm just out of touch. I'm not that interested in it.
Like, you wouldn't have a Spotify account, would you?
No, I don't have a phone.
So where do you listen to tunes?
In the car, on the radio. I've got records. I get a lot of things thrown on stage. Things like this. You mentioned a guy, Misty John. Probably tonight I might YouTube it on my missus's laptop. Sometimes I'll have a night up listening just to stuff online, but I don't do Spotify. I'll go through YouTube because it sort of counts, but I end up listening to all the same stuff. I end up listening to Saint Etienne, Only Love Can Break Your Heart, Killing of a Flash Boy by Suede, a bit of Scar, and then I'll put on the audio book of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then that will see me through to the dawn. Kind of set in my ways.
Would you read books multiple times?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I read Hunter Thompson's essays again and again. The Great White Shark Hunt is really interested. He writes a lot about Nixon. He spent a lot of time just watching the Nixon trials on telly, writing about them as well for the various periodicals and magazines. But he says at one point, I was reading it the other day, he says, reading it again the other day, he says, the thing about Nixon was he was clumsy. He wasn't really a gangster, he was just clumsy. But one day, a proper smooth talking shark is going to come along and take over the Republican Party. I can't quote it word for word, but you get the idea. It's worth looking at because it's Trump. I really wonder what Hunter Thompson would have made of Trump, because he was a provocateur. He enjoyed pissing people off or seeing people pissed off. So I think he might have gone along with it. I think it's part of the reason why Elon Musk is is doing what he's doing now, because he just loves pissing. He loves poking people, doesn't he? And
but that came from nihilism. Like Musk describes being 14 years old in his room and actually coming to the conclusion, maybe via his intelligence, that life had no point, and he did not know what to fucking do, like has happened to many people in the arts and in science. And he then decided, I'm going to try my best to give life a point, and that's how we've got this monster.
Wow, interesting.
You know the way you like have Oscar Wilde, Dostoevsky, all these boys clearly motivated the early libertine stuff, and maybe the way you lived your own life, I don't know. Do you read them differently with age? Like if you look at Wilde stuff now and like the essays on the soul,
I don't think I read them differently with age. I tend to think a little bit more about the individual behind the words and the historical context they were writing in. I mean, Dostoevsky's personal situation was a fucking struggle, you know, but to have this creative drive, most of it done by hand as well, you know, by candlelight, it's just phenomenal.
But were you driven by those guys, that description of that struggle leading, or the deliberate pain leading to creative kind of maximization? A deliberate choice to take on pain in order to give others glory? Possibly.
Well, there's a case of, I think I was very, very innocent in many ways. And maybe I felt the need to immerse myself, you know, in corrupt situations. I mean, I never quite managed to become corrupt, but I probably should be.
In terms of morally?
Yeah, I think ethically, morally, I probably should be a little bit uglier than I am, but maybe with the grace of God, create this force field. Elon Musk should pray more, maybe.
Do you have any religious, or either of you, are you religiously driven at all?
No, I mean, there's some Catholic guilt to an extent, but I think that's just in me. I don't practice or anything. I mean,
like what would your views be on Jesus himself, Christ, the original rock and roll star? What a storyteller he was, by the way.
Yeah, sure,
Christ.
But I mean, it's such a leap to even say that was how it was, isn't it? You'd end up, it's just a version of probably a guy, you know, who was probably an amazing guy, but I don't know really. I don't know.
What about you, Michael? Are you religious?
Not religious in terms of.
Were you brought up religious?
Would have been raised in a Catholic environment, but not by my parents.
You believe in Jesus?
Believe in Jesus, absolutely. Not God and going to heaven, but Christ, in terms of he was the original rock and roll star.
You believe he was the embodiment of.
No, but I think he told a good story, and I think that although, as many people say, Christianity has caused so many deaths via war, I think that he's also saved many lives by giving a version of chasing something. Do you know what I mean? Christ has been a mantra for how to carry on for how many millions of people, and also has led to, in some cases, good ethics and good morals. Yeah. Christ was just kind of a self-sacrificial, I'm not the be-all and end-all, my existence isn't in my hands. There is a higher power, and the higher power is a wave, it's a stone, it's a dog, it's not God, but it's that we're not important enough to overly analyse our own existence. We're a fucking leaf, we're a chemical. Try your best to enjoy it, take on language that was created before us, and just live.
It's an idea though, isn't it, the Christ thing, that's easily corrupted.
With the Babyshambles, we played the French Communist Party youth rally, and there was something like 220,000 people there. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's stupid numbers.
How would you fit to it? Was it an open part? Yeah, it sounds wild.
They didn't care. They were just all pissed, and they would have danced to anything. But it was us, and they had like an umpa band, and then loads of speeches.
Was there any gigs, although like part of the whole scene and part of the brilliance of the writing was your lifestyle, was there any gigs just as a professional, like a Roy Keane, a midfielder, you look back and go, I didn't leave it all out there. I should have performed better.
The Children of the Revolution one, completely, that was a great opportunity for me, and I love that song. And it all went wrong, because in the rehearsal, they'd done it in A, and then I missed the next rehearsal. And Elton didn't mind, but his band were really pissed off. And when I just sort of swanned up and walked straight onto the live stage without doing anything, they changed the key and didn't tell me, as a sort of like, we'll teach you to think you can just swell in.
Was it a stitch up?
It was and I looked over to the guitarist, the bass, and I was like,
was Elton singing it as well?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe
but if he hadn't have been, it would have been. He covered. No, but he covered for me though. He was like, he was going. I can remember. He was going, no, come on, you can do that. I couldn't get the note, but fortunately, I looked incredible with the eyeliner and the little pants and the little jacket, which someone found. I left it in a pub, that jacket, a couple of nights later, and some kid now has been wearing it to gigs saying, and I didn't understand. And the other day I ran into him and I said, "What have you been shouting?" He went, "I've been shouting, this is your jacket from the thing. You left it in the bag." I was like, "Oh yeah." And I was like that back then, you know what I mean? With the little sailor's hat. And so that was disappointing because that was an opportunity for me when I was at my the PR was as bad as it could be. It was an opportunity. It was an opportunity for me to show
the PR was kind of good
to show
too.
the world that I can. No, I can just join in and sing a song, and this is like world class karaoke. And it was diabolical. It was out of tune, and it was. Although the only good thing was when I flicked the flag and it went right over the camera, exactly right.
When you talk about the PR being bad, was there any party that kind of knew the PR was simultaneously good? Was there ever a party?
Not when it was. I don't even want to repeat some of the things, but some of the things they were saying that I was doing there was no angle to look at it thinking this could help us in some way, unless I was applying for membership of Aleister Crowley's fucking lodge or something, because some of it was like injecting unconscious girls and killing people, throwing people. So no, there was awful that.
Did you play the game to an extent and then they went too far?
They once had me in a vintage QPR shirt and a crash helmet, smoking brown, and I always thought that was the fucking coolest photo ever. But but then my mum and dad didn't speak to me for 8 years, so it was a fucking.
What you lose on the rooms, you make on the sandwiches, eh?
Yeah. So you moved to London?
Yeah, no, we've lived here a while.
When was that? Like two years ago?
Yeah, 3.
And how is it? How's it been?
I don't love the people that much.
Dublin's a friendly place, isn't it?
Dublin's a friendly place, but your grandfather's from Waterford, I presume.
No, Cheek Point,
which is in Waterford, I believe.
It's not far. Is
What
Waterford a county?
What county is it in?
Is Waterford a county? I
Yeah.
thought it was a town.
Jesus Christ! I thought you were doing a whole
I
thought you were growing into your Irishness.
I'm trying to get there. I want to turn up, but I want to turn up Cheek Point when I'm not there doing gigs and stuff.
I presume do you have Irish relations?
I do, yeah, but not like my nan and a twin sister.
Were they actually the nan was Irish with an Irish accent?
But adopted. So I don't think they knew.
What part of Liverpool are you from?
Walton originally.
Tell him about your DNA test you did.
Oh yeah.
Are you Irish?
What is that? A hair or what did they do?
That was it. 93 and Me or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I was 100% British Isles.
Within 28 kilometres, the family hadn't come from 20 kilometres outside of that part of the Mersey.
So for that many generations to have not moved, I felt a bit like Carry On Britain or something, the square wheel guy. So that my girlfriend's from Norway, but so we've had a kid, so at least she's not 100%.
Are you still mates with your brother, sisters, parents, all that stuff?
Still, yeah. I'm going up tomorrow actually, but yeah.
Because a lot of people who kind of take on the musical career, fall out with the folks comes at some point. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there's a bit of that, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a weird career to go into, isn't it? Because it starts off being a bit of a DOS, really, I suppose, and then it just gets out of hand. And then still being here, I've kind of just beat the system. I don't know how to put it really, but yeah, I think I don't think anyone. They just want you to do well, don't they? So.
Would you be good mates with your folks now, Pete?
Yeah.
Like, would you ring the old fella for a chat about?
I wouldn't ring him. He wouldn't. He doesn't have a phone either, and he doesn't.
But would you ring the old one just go, "How's your day going?
Maybe.
Like, how's the cholesterol?"
Yeah. I speak to my missus will speak to my mum because now we got the baby. That's what it's all about, So I'm going up. We'll go up tomorrow for Christmas, or till the 21st, and we're gonna have 10, 11 days up at my mum and dad's with the baby, and my sister, she's up there as well. So my niece and nephew, and
you staying in the house?
Yeah, we'll stay in the house. Yeah. So that's come finally, that family Christmas thing.
You know the way you boys are in your 40s.
Yeah.
Does death become an easier thing to contemplate, or is that like, do you know the way when you're 20 and you're 30, you're kind of going, "Oh shit, dying one day is a nightmare. I need to live a certain way."
You know what?
Are you kind of cool with it and like, kill me now, and that kind of makes you live longer accidentally in a weird way?
Bit, yeah, because I have to just think you have to come to terms with it, because otherwise, I don't think it would be good for anyone around around me to be seeing a terrified man, whenever the moment comes. So I just try to.
Would you be less fearful now than you used to be when you were younger?
Yeah.
Do you think that fear of death is what gets people into expression and creativity and all that stuff? Like everyone who's not everyone, but being in music or poetry or acting.
I don't know if it's a tangible thing when you're younger, fear of death, because I don't think you have any concept.
I remember being like 7 though, really, and staring at the roof before I went to bed, and then going, "What happens when you die though?" And then you have a real simplistic thought of it's just a black hole. It's just a grave, and you're alone, and there's no family or loved ones. So you're not really imagining death because you just can't get nothingness into your neurology, but you're still going, oh my God, the loneliness of that. I used to have that, the heart would race for a bit, and then I'd go, no, Teddy Sheringham and Solskjaer or subbing for Andy Cole and Dwight York, so I'm going to be all right. And then I just imagine Manchester United, and then I go to sleep.
I think it's okay to not dwell on it, but to be okay with it, because it's gonna happen.
Were you not fascinated with death for a long time?
I think it was a similar thing to what you just described. 7, maybe 11, but I think I was equally concerned about the things going on the planet. You know, I think at the time, with the addict, I always thought at that age I was going to join the army. For a long time, I just presumed that's what I was going to do. So I was always interested in what wars were going to happen, and I was always trying to advise my dad as a 10-year-old on who maybe we should invade first, just before they invade us, and all this. I love those discussions.
Do you think that passively came from your influence of your dad wanting to do it, or do you think that was your own decision?
Just a general obsession with history and war and empire that fascinated me, and you know the poem Dolce et decorum est pro patria mori. You know, it's sweet and meet to die for your country. This went from going along with it, thinking, yeah, actually that is a good thing to die for England and the empire, and then realizing it's actually, I don't think irony is the right word, but the poem actually finishes the old lie. Do you know what I mean? And then realizing the futility of war and how we are all one. It's that line there's a song, an Irish song that goes, go home, British soldier, go home. Yeah. Have you got no fucking home of your own? And that used
for 800 years we fought you without fear, and we'll fight you for 800 more.
Yeah, it used to, well, it still does, makes me weep, that line, because it's just that simple point. All these lads, you know, fighting in the British uniform, you know, have you got no home of your own? Why have you joined the army? Why do you need to be over here?
Did you never have those thoughts when you were a kid, that England were the oppressors?
Absolutely not. No, not for a long time. Not until at least I was 14 or 15.
The narrative was very different over here, wasn't it? Though, I think
singing about Albion, essentially.
I don't think so. I don't think if you listen to that song, I don't think there's any glorification. It's quite a sad song, really. Well, this is it, isn't it? Nostalgic for a time that didn't exist.
Yeah.
You know, where'd you go with that?
Can we do a tune from the new album?
Yeah, all right. Do you think you'll ever find yourself an empty room and go down into the empty room? There's too much grieving, too much feeling for the truth. And you've time aplenty soon. Hey la, hey la, hey la. You down aplenty. The way was blocked with strong arm locked by ringers and true. And if you'll ever find yourself back into the empty room and go down into the empty room, do you think you'll ever find yourself in an empty room? Just go down into the empty room. Hey la, hey la, hey la. Just go down to the empty room. Do you think you'll ever get back to the empty room? Go down into the empty room. Hila, hila, hey, la. One of the reasons I had to work with Mike because it's impossible to sing a song with the words "Hey La" in it unless you're working with someone from Merseyside. Otherwise, you just sound like a dick. You're like, why are you saying "Hey La"?
What's that tune mean?
So somehow that tune means. I know we kind of played it a bit buskery there, but somehow that song means so much to me. It just captures a few things, but I can feel it sort of welling up in me now. And if I try and describe it.
Do you handwrite the lyrics?
I got a little dictaphone.
So you'll sit and you'll go, these are the chords.
I'll sit with the dictaphone and I'll have my typewriter and I'll have my notepad there, and I got a trunk with all my notes in. Literally, there's a room in the house where I live where these days, especially with the babby, it's very rare I can get to just sit with a guitar and and maybe have a glass of whiskey and just sit and write. And so I have to go down at 3-4 in the morning, and it's like it's this really sacred space now because I'm not on my own very often.
Let's do another one off the new album. Sorry about the tune and the guitars and all the BBC now.
It's the Michael Anthony tuning.
Yeah.
So you don't like the people in London?
No one seems to see the point in conversations that have no point, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
I don't agree. I think I can find you people to have pointless conversations with. I'm going to make it my mission.
Do you know what I mean by pointless conversations?
Yeah, of course. Just like idle chatter, like, why the beachy then?
I wouldn't do a top of the morning accent if I was doing it. But I get what you mean. Close though.
Yeah, but still, there's a.
No, my question was going to be. Sorry to.
It's a bit of a beg, steal, or borrow vibe off that little thing you just did there.
My question was going to be.
Do you ever find yourself just rewriting the same tune and just changing the melody?
Occasionally.
Is there an element of cheating to this whole thing?
Absolutely. But my question was going to be about all this, what you've been doing with the podcast, because you were fucking flying in Dublin, and do you feel that you've taken it to another level in London? Are you happy with the way it's going?
No, I preferred me as a person when I was in Dublin. I found that I was purer.
Purer?
Yeah.
You weren't that pure in Dublin.
How do you plan on aging in terms? Would you ever get
just take it one day at a time?
Have you ever done a lunge or a squat? When's the last time you did a lunge or a squat?
I jump in the sea and I walk a hell of a lot.
But you'd never do 20 lunges.
Couldn't do it. It can't be. I see. Like I tried jogging. Once, and after about 20 steps, I just thought, what? There's no fun in it, really.
Do you exercise? Would you count calories though? Would you go, I'm gonna have 3 boiled eggs for breakfast?
Do you know what?
You're vegetarian now.
I was in another place in London that was full of hills, and I was kind of secretly getting into pushing the pram and doing these kind of bullshit, little personal tasks. But I'm not interested in it.
When's the last time you did a press up?
Carl does them in the Just Feed.
I was at the gig in the Roundhouse. He's just in shape. It was nearly embarrassing you guys up there.
Yeah, no. So he'll try and get me to do one, but I could.
You couldn't do one.
I can do one.
Could you do 5?
I could do 5.
Let's do a tune. This is a fucking turn into a health show.
I thought you were going to say let's do a press up.
Let's do 5. Thank God.
I struggle. I get to about 7 and then
what about the Priest of the Sea, or as you guys pretentiously put it,
Côte de la Mer?
Are you fluent in French, or are we all just buying the wrong product here? Can you have a full-on conversation with Eric Cantona in French?
And I have.
You met the king.
I mean, je parle français pas fait, mais pas complètement nul. Yeah, I always have. I've always had a romanticized, idealized version in my head of France, and always did have. Is this one tune?
Is the name Barat French?
So Carl's, I don't know if he'll want me to say this, but so Carl's great grandfather was a Barrett with 2 R's and 2 T's, but he was a would-be impresario and a minor strolling player, involved in theatre, and he wanted to sound more exotic, so he took off an R and a T and added a circumflex and became.
The rest is history.
Because his sister's done all the thing. At some point, it went from Barrett to Barat, but I've only found this out recently. I always thought it was some continental
like baritone
lineage. He was a
Priest of the Sea. Pete Doherty.
I don't think
Felt better alive. What does that mean, by the way? The album title.
What would you like it to mean, Michael?
Absolutely nothing.
I wanted to call it "If You Can't Fight, Wear a Big Hat."
And
it's a good title, no?
You were put off by management.
Talked out of it by management, and the yeah, you did. You completely talked me out of it. You thought it was comical.
Never said a word.
Yeah.
Felt Better Alive means
it's all in there. Anyone watching this is interested in the record. It's all in there. It's all in the song. It's this collage of song titles that were never used, half recollected memories of.
Were half of these written years ago? A lot of these.
No.
It was for a while. It was working title, old songs, wasn't it, as well?
Old songs, Empty Room.
Yeah.
That worked.
But the Priest of the Sea tune, that was one of those results of some Normandy orienteering again. Pete was telling us that is the priest who
Didier, the Catholic priest of Etretat, and baptised Billy May.
He every Christmas he says a benediction on the beach.
He walks from the church with his sword and his seal from the church to the seafront, and on one of those old Victorian sort of seesaw planks, he blesses the sea, and along with it, all the sailors and fishermen who traditionally have been the lifeblood of the local economy. And he does the benediction de la mer. And so we recorded him doing it.
We went down the beach with one of these Zoom type things, and we recorded them saying the same thing. And then we went to Le Havre.
So is that sea sound that you get in the record? That's actually from the sea in that area.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
and the organ on the record is the
Le Havre
is the almost blind 89-year-old church, cathedral organist playing the old pipe organ that was bombed by the Nazis, and
so we went back together. And he described this amazing pipe. But it's like the first time he'd ever had headphones on, though. Put them on his head, and he played, and he looked at me as if I was trying to reprogram him or something.
Did you write a script for him?
No. It's the actual blessing. It's a very simple prayer. He asked God to bless
Etretat and the sea.
Yeah, and everyone who makes the living.
It's beautiful. Let's play it.
I don't think we can. You know what? Since we wrote it and recorded it, we've never played it.
You can't play Priest of the Sea.
Well, we could probably, if you gave us 10 minutes, we could work it out, but we never tried to play it.
We did it then, and that's how we did it.
Yeah, that day.
We're probably gonna do Fingy.
Fingy's only
track on the record, though, was it?
Was that jump? I heard you say. Well, how high? That's what I say. How high? That's what I say. When you say jump, I say how high. How high's what I say. Fingy, 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 fingy. Where's the thing? No, you're not having it.
No, I'm having it. But for me, do you know when I listened to that, what I thought it was?
Michael's a songwriter.
No,
yeah, fair's fair.
No,
you give us one of yours.
We will in a second. We will. Do you know what I thought the thingy was? I thought, and this is it's wrong.
People were complaining last time. Some of my loyal fans were like, "Why did you let him sing one of his songs? We don't want to hear his song." And we're like, "Wow." He did a lovely song.
Do you know what I thought thingy was? Genuinely, and this is, I thought it was like your kid not having language skills yet, but a kid asking for an item and you now being a father.
It's being at sound check and just being absolutely fucking gutted, and my road legs aren't working, and I just can't do it, and so I need a bit of a bump. But obviously, I stopped cracking heroin, but I don't want Carl or John or Gary to know I said, "I haven't got any fingy." Just a bit of fingy.
So will that just be a little bit of coke?
Well, rather not coke, but I don't know, maybe a bit of speed or a shot of whiskey or something. Just anything. Coke's no good in a sound check, is it?
It's fascinating.
You don't want to enjoy a sound check. Do you know what I mean? You just want to get through it.
4 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah.
Cocaine's a horrible drug.
We'll have to make that clear for the record.
No, but it's just not fun. It makes people delusional and wrong.
Yeah, I don't know if you can make these clearly defined statements about it. It depends on the quality of it and the situation. It's possible to just lie back.
Do you like weed?
Yeah.
Not a lot of weed
I
stuff.
do like it. I don't smoke it. I don't smoke it so much because of my lungs now, but someone's been giving me these edibles. But to be honest, with the babby now, I don't really take anything. Do you know what I mean?
Were you never tempted to move to like a more friendly for creativity town, like a Nashville or a fucking Texas, and just
they won't have me. I can't get a visa, can I?
Still?
No.
What about yourself? Would you ever like to just chill out in the sun and go, I live in Nashville? And
Nashville is quite a different thing, isn't it? It's like it's a whole scene that I don't think you can just parachute in.
Did you ever give the Libertines never gave them the size, did they?
They did it without me. I'd rather not discuss that. They did it without me, the LA gig. And Morrissey went and apparently really enjoyed it, which I was really annoyed about.
That must be disgusting.
He took off it. Carl says he took off his New York Dole badges and put on, oh, what a waste of badge. And I missed all of that. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, let's get a tune from the album done. The mic needs to be closer, surely.
We were doing Breakfast for Peter though before, I think.
Yeah. Just pull it closer to your voice now.
Try it?
yeah, go on then.
4.
Well, hush, my darling, no, don't you cry. Your daddy's trying to write you a lullaby, one so sweet. And if that lullaby was a hit, daddy can buy you loads of cool shit. And forget about the times, you know they tried to run me out of town. And if you just stop crying for a few moments more, well, I could write the kind of thing that they'll pay millions for. Forget about the times when they always, you know, they try to blame my town. And you know, there is no pot of gold if you're caught bunking up the side of a rainbow drive. You see, oh, still I'm told that there is a pot of gold, and I'm coming, I'm sliding off the end of the rainbow. Hands free. And see, and see, so hush, my darling, don't you cry. I'm trying to write you a lullaby, so
stuff. About the child, about fatherhood, what are we talking about? The line, I could write you something that they would pay millions for. Forget
about the times. It's sort of having that conversation with one day when
they go on Google, they type in your name, and it says Pete Doherty, fucking balconies, all that bollocks.
Yeah. We'll forget about those times. Yeah. I think I'm harbouring a secret fantasy that she will just get well into music, you know what I mean? And that'll be her obsession on her life. I don't, you know.
Well, you could try and destroy the internet in the meantime.
It might have happened by then, you know what I mean?
Might have happened by then.
Putin might have banned Google in Western Europe.
What did you make of Putin?
I only met him once, very briefly.
You met Putin?
Yeah, we got cash in an envelope to play an oligarch daughter's 21st birthday party or something, and it was all ice sculptures, and I think he was knocking around that night.
Where was this?
He wasn't there like for the gig down the front.
Was this in London or what?
No, it's Moscow. It's Moscow, 2000 and I don't know. I wouldn't say 7, 8. No, he wasn't there to see us. He would have just been friends with this girl's dad, and they were all doing their thing. It was some private party.
When you say cash in envelope, is that a term or is it actual physical cash in an envelope?
No, we were there doing like a proper gig. We were there doing like a gig in a normal venue, and through a friend of the promoter or something, someone got in touch with our manager and said, "Would you be interested in doing a?" You know, at that time this wasn't like a media thing. This wasn't, done for the cameras. This was done because this particular girl happened to like me or the band. I had really good fun that night. Yeah, it's fucking right laugh. Yeah, it was only in hindsight that I knew it was Putin though, because you see, look at the photos now, and in the background you can see him with this map of Europe and a pen and
a highlighter.
Yeah, and like that, and I'm like, should have seen that coming.
So Lives in Music recommended to all the young people watching this as well as the.
That's an odd question, isn't it? I don't know.
Do you know what's an odd question?
Happy men, though.
Do you know what's an
happy men? Yeah, happy
Not
men.
many are happy men.
Do you know what's an odd? You know what's an odd question? Have you ever been asked about what advice you'd give your younger self?
Don't panic. This is the only thing I could think of that would actually be of any use. Succinct.
Would you have done therapy in your time?
I've done a little bit, but it kind of wasn't for me actually. I feel like I was doing it for somebody else.
That's yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, it was. I think since then, since my little stint at it, I think it depends on your therapist, right? I think you get, like anything, there's someone you click with or there's someone you don't click with. I just think I was dreading it. I was like, oh God, I've got to talk about myself. What am I talk about? You end up making stuff up,
What about you, Peter? Would you still talk to therapists, or you just going to do your own thing and fuck it?
I get a blocker. I get an opiate blocker once a month. So even if I did use heroin again, it would have no effect. And the people that do that, the drug workers in Le Havre, they keep an eye on me, and I speak to him now and again. It's not really therapy, but it could be. I think if I was ever to stop doing the live thing, and change my life completely, stop doing the live thing, stop running around everywhere, and sit down and start to really take stock of myself, I'd probably end up doing some sort of counselling, yeah. But I just haven't got the time, because I know the first thing they'd say is, because all really the problems that I still have with behaviour and substance abuse all comes from live performance and the feelings I get before going on stage and being on stage. I can't find it very difficult to do a gig without. So their advice, if they were any good, would be you've got to stop touring. When you're like heavily into heroin and you're physically addicted to it, you always have to be on it. There is no nighttime, there is no sleep. It's all geared around. That's the nightmare. It's the junkie's nightmare is to have a good long refreshing sleep, and then they need to wake up to realise you've got nothing left.
I was talking to John Cooper Clarke recently, and he was talking about heroin addiction. He was saying that it's actually the least boring life ever. He says it just gives meaning. He says that's why he did it. It's like a junkie always has a chase that makes you feel like you have so much point that a junkie can never have a boring day.
There's quite a specific walk as well. You can see it.
You can spot them a mile off, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Waking up the same agenda is the thing. Is like a common.
Have you done heroin?
No.
There was a fellow in Dublin the other day, actually, and I could see from across the street, just from his walk, that he was got head down. But he spotted me and he did a little. He went, Peter, I'll show you back in town. What are you up to? I went, I'm doing a little. And he went, and how are you feeling these days? Are you? And I went, yeah, no, I've stopped it. And I went, what about you? And he went, I'm a busy boy.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I'm a busy boy.
But as time goes on, you miss it less. Is it like anything else?
I think so. That's thank God you can't maintain that level of obsession. It lifts.
But you can't hate your entire past like any human.
That's another thing.
You have to forgive heroin. You have to kind of forgive heroin.
Look, The last time we did a chat like this as well, that was another thing that people came up with commenting, going,
What is this shit?
"Why does he keep?" Well, that's what people do when they put comments.
But was there?
Okay, on their phone then. So
Yeah,
they were saying, "Why is he asking him about heroin? Tell him to fuck off, Pete." Because apparently I was getting you and making me slather at the mouth, like remembering the good times.
No, it was just
remembering the bad times.
It was just genuine curiosity. You know, that's.
I always thought quite a good comedy sketch, and I might do it one day. Would be
Do you ever think getting into comedy? It's actually kind of similar to what the entire gig isn't. It comedy's kind of at the basis of horror, drama. I'd say comedy was an inspiration for you when you were a teenager, 100%.
Yeah, and still is as well.
It's quite hard to get it into music, isn't it? Though, without it being
Bowie was
writing
comedy,
or whatever.
and so was Morrissey in many ways by lyricism.
Hilarious,
yeah,
hilarious
but that's
lyricists.
that's
And the
what I'm
queer
saying.
threw up at the sight of that.
And that's why those people are quite rare, because I think it's quite hard to walk that line in a very credible way, you know.
A woman, I did a thing today with a woman. So I did an interview with a Scottish woman, and she said that she thought Thingy was hilarious. She thought it was a comedy song. She said it was like Captain Beefheart crossed with Charles and Dave.
Good. It's
Nice,
correct.
Yeah. And also she thought that Out Tune Balloon
Yeah, there you go.
was a comedy number as well, but I didn't really like the term comedy number.
Not comedy number, but it's got, I think it's got a bit of vaudevillian thing about it, which is different.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
What do you make? Would you ever watch any modern stand-ups and think they're good, or any stand-ups?
Nothing
ever?
I like more.
Stand-up's a bit of a
Nothing I like
funny
more than watching a bit of stand-up. Actually,
Like
I love
George
it.
Carlin.
I think so. I think I know what you're talking
Put it
about.
on
Yeah.
the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I
The
think
solid,
I've seen
you know,
him.
the Bill Hicks though, the solid 20 minutes though is solid 20 minutes.
Bill Hicks was the be all.
But a lot of stand up, yeah, I like it, but yeah.
But you wouldn't sit down and watch Mock the Week and think these cunts are funny,
No.
or never mind the buzzcocks. I know you've been on a few of those shows, and I don't want to offend people, but Jesus Christ,
There's some very quick, funny people on those panel
Yeah,
shows.
but they're all,
though,
but no, but that's TV.
sure.
That's TV. It's not stand-up. They're all very well edited and they're scripted. I think you find the people who do the comedy there, apart from all the little ad libs, it's all based on a pre-scripted thing. There's teams behind that. It's not. It's a different thing. Do you know? It's all.
Would you ever be kind of like judgmental artistically due to the fact that you kind of make up songs and both of you or make up music, that you kind of look at people going, there's now teams of people writing
writing songs.
Really simple joke for Mock the Week in which Pete and Carl stand. Are you ever going, this is just a fucking be an accountant?
I'm quite curious about it. I'm quite curious about it. Well, one time, yeah, but I'm quite curious now.
If you could get paid,
I'd love to have a crack at it. I'd love to have a crack at it. Yeah, but I'd love for someone to say, right, I want you to. We need a joke here about this or that. Yeah, I can do that. For example, that's not a very good example. We did Joe Wiley last night, and the idea was we pulled Christmas crackers and had to tell the joke. And my joke was something about a snowman's nose, but I pretended my joke was something I just thought of, which was when Santa's helpers get ill, who do they rely on? And the answer being the National Elf Service, right? Which I thought was quite funny. And everyone just presumed it was a normal cracker joke, not knowing I'd actually just thought of it on the spot. You see? Priceless, eh?
I still got the old penguin.
Comedians
the
bonus,
joke.
what happens? What I will say is this before we wrap it up.
Maybe I need to work more on the delivery and the question.
You got to take your bombings. What I'll say is this. When
see National Elf Service is supposed to help. Okay,
that's it.
It's
you got to feel the pain. Now, you said you want to get into comedy. Feel the pain of the bad ones, and that is one of them. Do you know the Pete Doherty diehards, the people who are doing that? He shouldn't be singing tunes. He shouldn't be like, you know, the people who followed you the whole way. When you're writing this new album now, is it for yourself? Is it for like your wife, kids, and your own happiness, or do you still have respect for the people who are at the Gorilla gigs in Whitechapel? Like, are they still following you?
I have, obviously, we have a team that do the social media, but I'm not. I need to reach them.
But writing and recording, I think, are quite almost mutually exclusive.
That's why I'm putting together my little fanzine. Sometimes I fantasize that that no one's ever heard anything I've ever done, and this is the first thing they're ever going to hear. And I think that's a good place to start from sometimes.
And you know what you were saying earlier on about, does he ever want to do something like, you know, like a really big Father John Misty thing? I think it's quite, it's the scope when you see Peter though, you kind of, he's like that kind of Lou Reed character where you could do a record like Berlin, or you could do, but it's all there. Peter's still, you know, young enough to do whatever he wants.
Let's end it on one more tune from the new album, and then let's go our separate ways and pretend this never happened.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no.
Is this guitar in the way of my friend here, by the way?
Do you like that guitar, by the way?
No, there's one.
Like
Here.
this one?
Yeah.
It's alright, yeah.
Are you giving us it?
What?
Are you giving us it?
No, we haven't read it. What is the story of guitars? Does it matter? Or?
Yeah.
What happens to all the guitars you've collected over the years?
Oh man.
Do you sell them?
I'm rubbish. I always threaten to, but I never do.
Never sold one. Give them away. Give them away. Chucked them into the crowd.
I've never done that, but I give stuff away.
Yeah, chucked quite a few into the crowd.
Did any like iconic musicians offer to donate you a guitar for like Johnny Marr if I'm going to use this for a living gig?
Well, like he did at the Oasis gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so actually. I don't really want to say who. Yeah.
Then don't. That's the limit. We don't name who gave the guitar. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, if Gary Glitter gave you a guitar, well, there's an old car horse with a wiry mane, strolling down the country. Okay. Mane and pulls the cart along the country lane. They've been rolling since before the break of day, tending the orchard and stacking up the hay. The old farmer sits holding the reins, guiding the cart along Normandy Lane. Slow and steady is the way, the way it is, the way it was, and the way it will remain. And so, you know, the apples still grow, and into barrels that roll, soon to become liquid gold. The Calvados will flow. In the kitchen sits the farmer's wife, picking her teeth with a pocket knife. The soul's a mess of blues and chicken wire. She presses the dog, spits in the fire. She takes down the bottle, she takes down the glass, and pours herself a tiny splash of the serum from the sacred orchard soil, perfume with the product of their blood and sweat and toil and soul. The apples will grow and the barrels still roll, soon to become liquid gold. Calvados will flow. They go, soon to become the liquid gold.
Absolutely beautiful, Pete. Obviously, Strap Originals is producing this record. What's the what is the backstory, and like why did you get into founding Strap Originals, and what's the ambition with it?
I still believe, really. I still believe in music, and I still believe in this country and songwriters. And a lot of the time, trying to help bands out, I felt very limited. Like, take them on tour so you can give them a stage, but you can not only give bands the opportunity to like give them a literal platform, a stage, and get them support slots with them, myself or the band, if they want. We can stick them in the studio. We can, put a few quid in their pocket, stick them in the studio, record them, get them on the road, release their stuff. It's like it's taking it that step further. And at the time, the Putin Madre's album I was doing, no one wanted to put it out.
Why?
Just didn't. They just wanted it to be Pete Dog. They didn't like the name Putin Madre's. Yeah. And it was all too chaotic. It was a very druggy time. Druggy time sounds awful, but you know what I mean. The chaos. No one was going to put us in the studio like that, so we did it in the front room. Dry produced it, and we just thought the only way to get this out is to start our own label. So we did.
What about the rejection element of having a label? There still has to be the odd act that you're going, we welcome everyone, but there has to be. There's a little bit of Simon Cowellism, regardless. Do you struggle with that? The selection element of having a label.
That works both ways. There's been some amazing young bands we've come across who, they've got nothing except their talent, their youth, and their brilliance. Who just don't want to be part of it. They don't want to. Jai talks to them about the long term, and they're just like 18, 19-year-old kids, and they're like, so that works both ways.
Beautiful talking to you. Thank you for chatting to me.
Oh, it's nice to see you again.
Beautiful talking to you.
I know, Baba. It's okay. Someone stroke Gladys's belly, because otherwise she's going to jump up. It's okay. 3 minutes. We're down in Albion, and they're black and blue, but we don't talk about that. Are you from round here? How do you do? I'd like to talk about that. Talk over a gin in teacups and leaves on the lawn. Violence at bus stops and a pale thin girl with eyes for long. A gin in teacups and leaves on the lawn. Violence in dog queues and a pale girl behind the checkout. And if you're looking for that cheap tart, that's in false anticipation. I was waiting in the photo booth at the underground station. So come away and let's get away. Could go to Chichester, Doncaster, Manchester, Digbeth, Dalston. We'll go to anywhere in Albion. Yellowing classics and cannons at dawn, coffee wallers and pith helmets and your English song on the Reebok classics outside Ladbrokes at dawn. Coffee wallers and piss-filled helmets and your English sun. And if you're waiting for a cheap tart, glint with perspiration, there's a 4-mile queue outside your disused power station. So come away, you promised we'd get away and go to Newham, Newbury, Newford, Newtown, Newcastle. If you're still waiting for a cheap tart, glint with perspiration, there's a 5-mile queue outside the disused power station. So come away, or let's get away. Could go to
No man.
go to anywhere in Albion. Thank you, Michael.
Hope you enjoyed your time, guys.
Good stuff, yeah.
I enjoyed breathing into this, so that wasn't.
Glug, glug, glue.
Michael, nice one.